Driving directions on your phone? Oh no! That's not fun! Navigate hands-free with Apple CarPlay.
Everybody. You know, every year somebody pops up on the mini bike scene that makes a little name for himself. One of these guys is Athanasion from Prestige Parts Plus in the Inland Empire. He's causing a stir. He's making some things happen. Let's find out his backstory on the next Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast. Hey everybody, welcome to Season 7, Episode 6, Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Today's podcast is presented by our friends at Pioneer Car Electronics, who remind you, don't break up with your car, upgrade it with Pioneer. Also want to give a big shout out to our friends over at GTS Hobbies. We're happy to say that GTS Hobbies is going to be a big supporter of Joe's Minibike Reunion and giving away a rolling frame with a big tire on it at this year's Joe's Minibike Reunion. That's October the 8th at CV Park in beautiful La Crescenta. Also want to give a big shout out to our friends at studsracing.com. The Motor City Madness is happening there, studsracing.com. Check them out for all your mini bike parts and needs. And say hi to my friend Eric out there. Mention Joe's Minibike Reunion and they'll charge you 10% more as well. All right, everybody. Today we've got a great guest in store. As I mentioned earlier, every year somebody pops up in this mini bike scene that seems to be making a name for himself, whether it's the way he presents himself, whether it's the bikes he's building, whether it's the parts that he's using on his builds, or maybe some of the parts that he's endorsing. Athanasion is one of those guys that has popped up recently. I first found out about Nick from a good friend of ours and the podcast, Jake Moe. Shout out to Jake Moe at Moe Customs. Hope you're doing well, Jake. In fact, Jake stopped by my house this past week on Tuesday. He bounced out of his gig for a second and came by to say hi to me and Linda. We had a chance to catch up, have a cup of coffee, and before you know it, he was gone. But while he was there, he helped me bleed my brakes on my Temecula Bob long frame and gave me a couple tips and tricks that only Jake can do. And Nick's name came up. And, Nick and I had met for the first time on one of the recent rides that we had taken. I think that was the one that we went to Santa Monica Pier. And I was impressed not only by his bikes, but the group that he was hanging around with. He was with his girlfriend Celeste and Jay. In fact, that's where I met Smoking Jay for the first time. And I knew that I wanted to find out more about Nick. And when I reached out to make this happen originally, I got a hold of Jay, and some of you folks may remember Jay. He was featured on the podcast a few weeks back. Jay gave us just a little bit of an idea of what was happening over there at Prestige Plus, but I wanted to find out from the man himself. And with that said, I want to welcome to the podcast Nick from Prestige Parts Plus. Nick, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, how's it going, Joe?
Doing all right?
Yep.
All right. You two had a long trek that you came out here. Thanks for making a little time for us to be on the podcast.
No problem.
Get that microphone a little bit closer to you. It'd probably be better for everybody. There you go. See? So, Nick, you rolled up in a custom bike, and let's see what I remember about that bike. It had a trick front suspension, almost like a motocross-like. It had big tires off of, I don't know if they were 10-inch tires or not, but the bike sounded nice. The bike looked strong. Talk to us a little bit about your build style, because I see something there that's kind of unique from a lot of the other bikes that I see out there.
Yeah, I like a big wheel style, you know, with the, I like to use a X18 pocket bike style rims, you know, 8s or the 10s. Give it a good look.
Yeah, that pocket bike style wheel and tire, those were used sparingly, but now it seems like they're much more popular. Why is it? Just because it's a better feel when you're riding? It's just more tire on the ground, or is it just the look? What is it about the big tire?
I'm sure it just took a couple guys to make some bitchin' bikes, and everyone just kind of, you know, wanted to make a bike like that, and now you can't really find them at all.
Yeah, that look. Another thing that I saw is that in addition to custom bikes and frames that you're putting together, you don't mind playing off some of the existing frames, and even some of them, I don't know if they're Motovox. I've seen an Isuzu that I think you were recently trying to sell. You may have had some doodle bugs there. You're an equal opportunity builder. You don't mind starting from scratch or modifying some of the other bikes that are out there, like the doodle bugs and the Motovoxes. Is that true?
Yeah, mostly what we do is a lot of chops, you know. It's like stretches and re-raking them, and, you know, different brake systems, and just turning them into trikes, just, you know, all different stuff.
So when you first got started in the mini bikes, how did that pan out? Was this something that you've recently got into, or is this something that you've always been into, mini bikes?
Yeah, all through my life I've liked them, but my dad actually got a storage unit years back and had a few go-karts and a few mini bikes, and just fixing them up and stuff and selling the ones I didn't like and getting on OfferUp, and I seen how popular it was and how easy it was to resell and find cool stuff, and, you know, I'm more of a collector, but just, you know.
That's how it started?
That's how it started, yeah.
Do you remember what some of those bikes were back when, you know, you had the storage bin with the go-karts and the mini bikes? Were they just generic mini bikes? Any of them that you remember?
It was one of the Carter Bros, the big monster truck.
Yeah.
Have you seen those ones?
I sure have.
It was one of those. Yerf Dog. It was a couple little pocket bikes, little mini chopper.
So nothing really like a vintage Taco or Bonanza, just some run-of-the-mill bikes, and it still got you excited, huh?
There's no real mini bikes there. Just a couple pocket bikes, chopper, and a go-kart. But that just got me introduced with the OfferUp crowd, you know, and that's where it all started, I guess. So
OfferUp gave you your first entree into not only selling some of those leftover bikes or maybe parts or whatever, and then you started to realize that you were in the game?
Well, yeah, just buying, you know, getting in the game. Like, I started buying old bikes and hooking them up, and then after you start carrying so many parts just for your builds, people catch on. You're like, hey, you know, call Nick, he got it, and it started getting more and more parts, and yeah, it's just supplying the area, you know, because there's no shops out there. It's all LA pretty much.
Yeah, so what Nick's talking about is Nick's in what we refer to as the Inland Empire, and it's not necessarily right next door to LA. We've had some guests on the podcast in the past, for example, Tim from Small Engine Cams. That's the heartbeat for SoCal. If you need parts, you're rolling over to Small Engine Cams, and they're going to satisfy whatever your needs are. Not that easy just to all of a sudden your chain breaks, or all of a sudden you need a new intake or a carb, or, man, we've all been there where we've needed a piece of chain or a clutch, right? And it's not as easy as just jumping down there to driving down to Small Engine Cams or ordering online from Studs Racing. So you had become a source then for, I would imagine, a lot of these mini bike enthusiasts in the Inland Empire. Did some of those inquiries or did some of those sales start to give you an idea that maybe you can go from just kind of OfferUp to maybe hanging your own shingle and opening up your own shop? How did you get to that point where it went from kind of like a hobby to actually brick and mortar?
I think it was a lot of around the COVID time, and all the motorsports got real popular, and actually hopped on Instagram finally, and that opened up a lot of doors and got me more in the community, you know. And yeah, it's been a few years now, and
So that grassroots activity where you're buying and selling parts on OfferUp, you start to come across a lot of different folks. You start to build up a little notoriety. It still takes takes some balls to still step up and to the plate, not only time-wise, but career-wise and financially, to open up a shop, especially in Southern California. Was that an easy decision for you to make? Did you second guess whether or not this is something that you were going to truly try to make into a real business?
no, it's not that hard. Well, I used to do roofing and construction, you know, so I ain't get no younger. So I gotta, you know, put everything into it, and just, you know, trying to make it work. And
So what'd you do? Just find a shop? How did it kind of roll out?
I'm still out of a garage right now,
Okay.
but hopefully pretty soon I'll find a commercial area I could open up a shop at. It's mostly just a lot of fabrication and stuff. I got my normal. I don't promote myself too much right now, but I'm trying to get my website under construction right now. But a lot of local guys, you know, just a lot of fab work, local guys.
You got that word of mouth? Mm-hmm. Yeah, people would pay good money for that. You can have the best website in the world, but if you don't have that notoriety internally, which it seems like you do, it's still kind of tough to go. It's not like you just turn on the lights and put a "We're open" sign up and people run in there. So you're obviously making a name for yourself in the Inland Empire. Who are some of these guys that are coming into the shop buying parts? Are they older guys? Are they younger guys? Are they buying just parts that they're installing in themselves? Are they buying complete bikes? What's kind of the range of the customers that you're seeing at Prestige Parts Plus?
I would say all different ages. You know, old guys, young guys. A lot of little crews, little race crews and ride out crews. They're my biggest customers for all the consumables, and I got a few older guys. They do the more custom builds, putting a lot more money into the builds and just for show and stuff like that.
Are folks asking for complete bikes now, or are they still just hunting for parts?
Yeah, complete bikes. I sell a lot of complete bikes.
So how would that work? Would it be like, hey, we want you to build a custom bike for us, or are they bringing you up maybe a project that they started they want you to finish? How is that kind of working out?
Yeah, they bring me bikes they want to chop up and extend or put swing arms on or shock bars, you know, different brake systems, motor plates, you know. I sell, I bend frames. I do all the welding and stuff. If they want to build some kind of drag bike or drift trike, chopper, you know.
Yeah, were there builders in the hobby that you were fans of or got your attention early on when you were starting out? Are there any guys out there or builders out there that you kind of like their style, or you model some of your bikes in your builds around?
Oh yeah, Jake Moe, one of my favorite builders. Frank from F&B. Rafa's always been a big inspiration. Metal Fab Creations. That guy's really inspiring.
And what do you do? Just let some of their work guide you on some of the directions? Because your bikes, I'm seeing the bikes, you're touching everything from that front tire to that back tire. There's nothing stock about any of the bikes that you're building. So you obviously have got not only some talent, but it's nice to kind of steal some cues and some ideas from some of the other builders, particularly those guys that you mentioned in the past as, benchmarks.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no denying that Jake and Rafa and, a lot of guys know F&B for their pipes, but they don't realize that they also had taken their turn in the hopper for building frames. They do nice jobs on that, but it's a good group of guys in this community. You seem to be picking up a little bit notoriety and momentum about some of the efforts that you're making. How does that make you feel?
Oh, real good, you know. I used to watch the show and, say one day I'll be on there, and now, getting a little more recognition for all the hard work,
Yeah, good. It's good to have you on there as well. When folks are looking at either buying a complete custom bike or parts for their bike, some guys like them to either dial them up on the phone, like Rafa from GTS. Other folks don't mind if you send in an inquiry or some information through Instagram. Is there a way that works best for folks that may want to do some business with Prestige Parts Plus?
Yeah, mostly on Instagram through Prestige Parts Plus. Or my phone number, 909-667-9279.
Why don't you repeat that again, folks? If you're looking at maybe picking up the phone and talking directly to the guys at Prestige Parts Plus, what's the number again?
909-667-9279.
So you've been involved as an enthusiast. You've bought and sold parts and bikes. I see recently some posts on Instagram where I don't know if it's you or the company starting to promote some drag race activities in the Inland Empire. Is drag racing or mini bike racing in events promotion, is that something that you're looking at getting into down the line as well? You seem to be touching base on a lot of the different elements as selling parts and building bikes and hosting maybe either rides or races. Is that all part of the big picture for you?
Yeah, just trying to promote the sport in my area, trying to put the Inland Empire on the map so I don't have to come out here to race and, just have more stuff out there available for us.
Who are some of the bigger players or some of the more prominent mini bike characters in the Inland Empire that you come across?
Let's see, out that way, we got Block Boys, High-End Customs, Criminal Riders are doing real good with their racing. There's a lot of them.
For a second, if you could, talk a little bit about those guys. These are acquaintances of yours, they're customers of yours. What are they buying when they come into the shop? I know they want to come in there and shoot the shit and talk and see some of the bikes and maybe show off some of their stuff, but when it comes to parts, what are some of the more popular parts that the guys are looking to buy when they come into the place?
It's mostly a lot of chassis parts, gearing and different rims and tires and stuff like that. I have a lot of racing parts as well too, but mostly chassis parts and more custom accessories and stuff to really trick out your bike,
Yeah, I saw you brought a little something that we're going to be giving away on the show, something bright and shiny. Talk a little bit about what you brought here.
This is just a valve cover I had made. Guy on Instagram, Jeff Built. He's making them for everyone right now. But
what's the name of his company?
It's I don't know. It's Jeff Built on Jeff.built on Instagram.
Yeah, we'll get that information and we'll plug it on the site. If you're watching the podcast on YouTube now when it's airing, we're going to be giving this away, compliments of Prestige Parts Plus. A nice little billet piece here. Probably too cool for most of the mini bikes that I see out there, but this is just an example of some of the cool custom products that you can get. Obviously, this is more of a kind of a lipstick, makeup, cosmetic part, but there's plenty of performance parts, not to mention all the stuff that you really need, whether it's wheels, tires, brakes, chains. I saw some recent videos that I think your guy Jay. Incidentally, shout out to Jay Klontz. Jay was a guest on the podcast recently. In fact, his episode should have already aired by the time you're watching this one. Jay's been doing a good job as your front man. How did you two guys kind of meet up?
Offer up. I started selling parts to him, and he just really got immersed in the hobby, and we started doing builds together, and he just kept, throwing so much money in these builds, and pretty much just a fine example of, my work, and now it's gonna, what am I saying? Yeah, just
good team so far.
He's been putting a lot of money in his bikes, and I've been putting a lot of work into his bikes, and he believes in the company and wants to promote me, and
let you go do your stuff, building the bikes, and locating and sourcing the parts that you want to sell, that you want to have available. It's always nice to have somebody there handling some of that out front work, some of that lights, camera, action stuff. He does a good job representing you, and
the PR guy.
Yeah, everybody's got to have one of those. In fact, there's a lot of guys who are builders like yourself who don't have that. And it's a nice compliment to have that because you could be focusing on some other things that are a little bit more important. Folks, we've been talking to Nick Athanasion with Prestige Parts Plus. He's been causing a little bit of a stir in the Inland Empire in this mini bike scene. I had a good time riding out with him on the ride out to Santa Monica Pier. It was hosted by our man, Long Beach Sprocket. You've enjoyed some of those rides. Hopefully we'll have a chance to get together on another one soon. Nick, is there anybody that maybe you'd like to give a shout out to or give a props to that we haven't had a chance to talk about? I know you want to give a shout out to Celeste.
Yeah.
She's with you wherever
Yes,
you go.
my
You guys
girl.
make a good team. How long you two been together?
Going like 6 years now.
6 years. She's been tolerating you for 6 years?
Yeah.
All right. Well, she gets a free Joe's Minibike Reunion t-shirt at the event. Joe's Minibike Reunion coming at you October the 8th, 2022. It's our 10th event, 10th anniversary event. It's our diamond event. I'm working towards the new website, which will give you guys all an opportunity to register online. You'll have a few options ranging anywhere from $10 to $35. There will be an additional fee if you want to be on the dyno. We're looking forward to having our friends over at GTS Hobby on display. Who knows? Maybe we'll see the friends over at Small Engine Cams. F&B Racing typically has a booth there. Who knows? Maybe we'll see a booth from Prestige Parts Plus, and you can say hi to Nick directly and check out all the cool builds and products that he has to make your bike handle better and go faster. You know, we talked about Small Engine Cams. We have Studs Racing as a sponsor. In the past, we've had Go Power Sports. There's a lot of folks that could sell you parts. That's kind of the easy thing, is to sell you the parts. It's having that knowledge and having that hands-on expertise to make sure that you get the right part or the right build. I support all of those sponsors and all of those folks that I mentioned. In addition to shining a little spotlight on Prestige Parts Plus today, take a look at supporting all of the folks that support Joe's Minibike Reunion, including our friends at Pioneer Car Electronics as well. Nick, thanks for spending the time with us today. Continued success with Prestige Parts Plus. I don't know. Maybe get a little tax refund. I'll have to become a customer of yours as well, see if there's something you can build for me. I look forward to maybe having that opportunity because I like what you're doing. Thanks for spending some time with us on the podcast. And once again, folks, if you'd like to get a hold of Nick for your next custom build, or maybe, who knows, there's some parts that you may need, check them out at Prestige Parts Plus, particularly on Instagram. This has been episode 5, season 7 of Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast. 6? Oh, look at that. Episode 6. We did 3 of them today. Thanks for watching, everybody. Tell a friend if you get a chance, hit the like button or subscribe on YouTube. That's all the stuff that we need to fill the machine. I'm your host, Joe Sebergandio, and we'll see you the next time on Joe's Minibike Reunion podcast. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Joe's Minibike Show.